Hey, this is the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and believe it or not, whether you like it or don't like it, learn to love it, because you have to listen to Wrestling is Real. It is the best thing going today. Woo!
The worldwide leader of podcasting excellence, the king of podcasts radio network proudly presents The Wrestling is Real podcast, because wrestling needs us.
And as I mentioned last week on the program, I knew there was going to be a swerve that was going to go ahead and help explain everything. That we were not going to just get Rock and Roman Reigns in a match with each other one-on-one, and Cody was going to get left out of the whole picture. No. We now have it all set. Cody has made up his mind, and it's obvious that he's going to go ahead and take on Roman Reigns. That was made clear at the press event last Thursday. And then what they decided to do, the reason why they decided to go and pull the swerve that they did, it was to make The Rock go heel. We all get that now. But it's how immediate they made the heel turn on The Rock happen just like that. Because it could have very well gone The Rock and Roman Reigns and have that set up. But the idea that they're both back together, you know, all we got was The Rock talking about wanting to be back to the head of the table. But we're not getting anything else after that. Meantime, Rock is back. And when he's being brought into this mix here, people want to call it the Hollywood Rock. It's not. It's much different. This is not a Rock that, oh, he just came into Hollywood and now he's gotten the taste of it. No, this is a much more narcissistic, you know, just angrier Rock. More than we ever had. An older, bitter, more just tried and true, you know, he's like the big end all be all. Like he's the legend and he's going to act like it. Like really what he did, it wasn't even necessarily giving us like the full Rock with the bombast that we normally get. It is, but this is a more real feeling Rock. This is like what we've seen in the movies. This is like Hobbs turning heel in Fast and Furious. That's what I feel like this character is. He's the authority here, and he's going to go ahead and just get everybody up and at it. And in Vegas, that press event, you know, I know what they did with doing this on Peacock and trying to build the event because it was in Vegas, it was a Super Bowl. They were trying to get a lot of press for it, obviously, and they did. But the idea was that they wanted to go and have this here just to get everybody up and worked up about what they did. Because the press conference, even though they did not show a lot of it on television, really says a lot about what they did with the whole thing. And also explains a lot about the fact that a TV show is not the main importance of everything that they're doing. Okay? Because for them, they're more than willing to go and just go along with the press conference and have this go out and go viral, which it did. The TV show's out there, but it's not, they're not going to try to make the news on WrestleMania during the TV show because they wanted it to be done here where it's a somewhat legitimate press event. They're going to still have the crowd out there because obviously what they're realizing is with these bigger events for Elimination Chamber for leading up to the WrestleMania kickoff, it's pretty obvious that they get some good response in these press events every time they do it. So when they go to Perth in 10 days or 9 days as I record this, they're going to go out there and really blow it up. And the Australian crowd is going to go crazy. Saudi Arabia's done it. You know, England's done it. Like it's every time they go out and do a press event, it gets some good coverage and they play promos into it. They run angles in those press events. It makes sense for them to do that because they're basically taking what the UFC does with their own events. When they do weigh-ins, when they do their own setups for press events, that's what WrestleMania, that's what the WWE is doing right now. And they need to go and do that and then regurgitate. And because the TV is not the centerpiece of it, that's okay. You know what I feel like sometimes when I watch this show now? You know, we used to go and watch regularly the TV shows, and when I was watching in the 80s, it was always like jobber matches, but we don't get jobber matches anymore. But the feeling of the importance of watching the show every week and what you're going to get out of the show, it's more just a recap. It's more just to kind of like keep you in the flow of what's going on. If you want to just get your full 3-hour or 2-hour dose on a Monday or Friday night to watch, then you do. But otherwise, that's all you're going to get. And you're not going to really miss much by missing the show. It's pretty obvious now. I was for the longest time as a fan trying to go and hold on to that, but really, social media these days is nearly impossible to miss something that you're going to get out of a mix, in particular of a show. Like, the wrestling's the importance on the TV shows. They've made that point clear. And that maybe there will be some stars in the mid-card that will finally kind of pan out and they'll kind of be able to do something with. But without the idea of creating some different characters and different personas, and we've seen different approaches to this, okay? We see different approaches. And we talked about this already, about gimmick changes that needs to happen, that you just can't bring on a star established as what they were like in the independent scene or what they were looking like in developmental. Okay. What you see in developmental in NXT is not what you're supposed to see when you see them in the main roster, right? That's the part you got to think about. So for all the stars that I keep complaining about that have not really gone out and really done much, they're serviceable, important mid-card stars, but some of the younger stars that are here are not going to make their way up. I mean, seeing Austin Theory and Grayson Waller basically as attachments to themselves, just as just the mainstays they were in NXT, doesn't help them. When Carmelo Hayes and Trick Williams eventually move up, they're going to be the same thing. When Braun Breaker, when people think, oh, well, let's make Braun Steiner. Yeah, I agree with that. But you got to do something more with Braun to make him build out better. And it's got to be a significant gimmick change. I mean, you just can't go the route of what you did with... Okay, you know what? There's a couple of examples of stars that really, they tried to go and change up a little bit, and it didn't work out either from NXT. Because it is a long track record of certain gimmicks that you think would get over, and they don't. Okay? I think of Adam Rose. I think of Tyler Breeze. I think of Cameron Grimes. No matter how enticing and how exhilarating the response was from the crowds, wherever they are, on the men's side, it doesn't work. It doesn't really work. Unless you already had just something that was just a bit different, and then it was more of an evolving of the characters. Remember, the Shield started NXT, moved up, but they also just kept evolving and evolving from there. Same thing with the Wyatt family. With the Women's Revolution, that was a different anomaly, which is not going to be recreated again. But even then, some of the stars that came up from NXT in that Women's Revolution, they all had to make some changes. I mean, Sasha Banks definitely made changes from being the boss and just moving up to where she was. The same thing went for, well, Naomi went through quite a few changes going into the Neon. Bayley has gone heel. Now she's back to face, but like, she's gone through a lot of changes for herself. And Becky Lynch has also made some major changes for herself too. Like, it's just what everybody does. You see these significant changes because they have to be molded into something what the main roster creates. What the main roster is going to create and what they're going to build up. Even Roman Reigns, going from the Shield and then developing him into the Tribal Chief and this whole character that's come out of it. That's the epitome of the success that this brand can create. And the other stars need to realize this is the kind of wholesale changes they need to make to their character, because they need to make creating a character. Let me put it to you like this. This is an easier way to explain this. You remember why Vince used to like go ahead and changing names and changing gimmicks and changing so much? Is because they wanted to make you into a character that they can market, they can produce, and they can own. They want to create intellectual properties. And some of the stars probably are not very happy to go ahead and allow themselves to have their name, image, and likeness that they built up turn into something else. But, hey, Seth Rollins doesn't get to take his character with him. He doesn't have the copyright, doesn't have this intellectual property of everything they've done with him. Everything he can call himself, visionary, architect, Monday Night Messiah, all of it. You can't own any of that. It's the company's. For The Rock is the same. for the Roman Reigns is the same. And that's what Vince was doing. And actually, that is the process that I think that the new company, even though Triple H might be coming in with things, I mean, you got to have stuff that you can put on t-shirts. DIY, okay, that's a team name that you can create, but that's really nothing about those two characters. They're just extensions of themselves. They were on the independents. No much difference anyway. And some that they might have changed names and done things with doesn't make much of a difference either. But it's like, when they do enough where they're going to put so much marketing and so much behind you, more than just a t-shirt, and so much more, they haven't done that yet. And that's the part they haven't gotten to a point. But I must say, if you want to see better things coming out of WWE going forward, look no farther than Roman Reigns and The Rock. No look any farther than Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins for what they're doing. Now, don't get me wrong. I love what they did with Becky Lynch. It was interesting that Nia Jax got brought into the mix, and Rhea Ripley, like all of that right there. They're building up pretty strong towards Elimination Chamber, towards WrestleMania. They're doing it. Bayley dealing with Damage Control like they did last week. Like they're starting to build up matches. They're starting to build up things to make it important. And also Elimination Chamber, have their matches set up. But no matter what, we'll see what they do with Elimination Chamber themselves to find out who will face Rhea Ripley overall when it comes down to it. Like there's all these things that are going on that you just need to realize the main stars you have up there are at such a higher level. Like there is such a deviation. There's no parity at all. I mean, and for those that are going to make their way up, they have such a long way to climb. And you would think that some of these stars, okay, that have come into the company, came in through NXT and worked their way through the long, tedious process of maybe even noticed or even doing anything to where they can go ahead and be looked at and immediately be brought up quickly into the ether of what is in the main roster. Listen, for LA Knight, he had to do something. I mean, I guess when he was allowed to go and do more of his character, that got him out there more, and that got him to be in the main event spot for a little while until WrestleMania time came. But really, there's not much else. Because LA Knight right now isn't at the level of like Randy Orton or AJ Styles. He absolutely is. But he did take advantage of the spot he had. And the thing is that you can't underestimate the fact that the Eli Drake character was going to get over somewhere. If Impact Wrestling was too big for Impact Wrestling, fine. He was going to go somewhere else and he was going to go and build it up. And NWA, I don't think Billy Corgan could have held on to him the way he was going. So if Eli Drake, they're going to make his way back and get in here and get the spots, even having some bad, feuds, or not even having feuds at all. The talking was enough to get the crowd up and going. Well, good for him. There's a ceiling to him. He's not going to go much higher, but for those that are going to totally break the ceiling and get to the level of Rock and Roman Reigns, you got to sell yourself. You got to sell your soul to get there. Be completely company and, become the larger than life and be unapologetic of what you have to get through to get here. Because remember, both Rock and Roman Reigns were panned at points in their career. Remember, 2015 Roman Reigns, man, we were shitting on. I wasn't shitting on him. I still liked him. But the post-Shield Roman Reigns face that was out there, people did not like. They were shitting on him. And all of a sudden, look at all the work he's gone through to get the capital of this character that is now so adulated. He is the top dog, the biggest name right now in the company and in the country and in all of wrestling right now. Roman Reigns is it. End of discussion. And The Rock also went through his own pain of coming in initially and being panned and jeered, and to work his way up to get his character up and going to build the career he has today. And knowing to reinvent himself a bit more. Right? Because The Rock and Roman Reigns right now, they are absolutely like you see, and the thing is, I wasn't sure they were going to go this route, but let me tell you, Rock and Roman Reigns together, I like it better. It makes more sense, and I think there is the camaraderie that I want to see them have for a while, and then eventually build up to that, okay, we're going to now take care of the tribal chieftain. Like, I want that coming up. And for Rock to be able to come back for a significant amount of time, to be able to go and make that happen, oh, I love that. Oh, I love that. So Rock and Roman Reigns in a part-time role, and they get in here, and eventually we get to see him at this point where they can go and build himself. I think that's fantastic. I love that whole idea, and I think what we saw in the press conference really stands out, and I want to go and play some of it. I'm going to just play a couple pieces, but like, okay, the beginning with Rock and Roman Reigns on stage, coming out, and the crowd in Vegas at T-Mobile Arena shitting on them all over. But just, I want the masterclass of being over and not being afraid of being the heels here and playing the heels so well. And yeah, they are the heels and they can be somewhat liked. I mean, listen, I still like them as heels, but that crowd really got them up as heels. Let's go ahead and listen in. They didn't want the finally, and I love that he pulled it back. I love that he pulled back going on finally. I've come to Las Vegas. I love it. I love it. And holding the crowd at bay. Holding the crowd at bay is wonderful. All this right here is fantastic. Now again, propping up. Getting this crowd for all they're worth.
Finally!
Oh, he gave it to him.
The Rock has come back to Las Vegas!
Because he had to give that up.
Now let The Rock ask you a question. Do you think that Roman Reigns is going to beat The Rock at WrestleMania?
Mind you, this is right before Roman Reigns, and there was still the thought that Roman and Rock were going to face each other. Everybody was into it. So, again, you want to just seep in the heeldom.
Or do you think that The Rock is going to beat the Tribal Chief at WrestleMania?
Because before this, the crowd was already turning on Rock anyway. But he almost didn't give us come back. Did not almost give him that.
Here's one thing you need to do before you buy anything online. Don't spend another dime on Amazon.
And the best part is they're just eating this crowd up. They're just kind of getting him in here. And the Cody stuff. Like, really. Get him here, get him here, get him here. But that's the beginning of this. Just to get things all started up. Stir the shit up because the crowd's already turned on it. The heel turn's in effect. But it's not completely done yet. Because there's still this position until Cody says otherwise. Cody supposedly has given the spot back to The Rock with no explanation. And this is where everybody was all up and at it, up in arms, and upset last week.
Or do you think that The Rock and Roman Reigns will be the biggest main event in the history of the WWE?
Of course it is, but the crowd's just not into it. Now we're going to move on for this a little bit. Now, the part from last week that did not get a lot of talk about was the timeline of the Bloodline and the chain of things when it comes to the family tree. Not a lot has been talked about this, but I want to make this point across really clear because I thought this was very important with what they did. And it's too bad that this, that the TV audience doesn't get to go through this whole deal here, but this is part of the story they need to go ahead and tell more of.
Now, let The Rock show you all and everyone around the world. I'm going to show you something right now that is very important. It's very cool. And I think you're going to like it a lot. But regardless whether you like it or you don't like it, you love it, you hate it, one thing for damn sure, you are gonna respect it. Take a look.
I personally hate all the what chants still. It's really bad. It's overdone.
When you look at this incredible family tree, and I want you to take a look at the very top of the tree. At the top of that tree, The Rock's grandfather and Roman's grandfather made a blood oath in that our family in Samoan said, Ainga, Ainga forever. And if you can't see that, if you can't see the fact that this is proof that there is only one dominant and powerful royal family in professional wrestling, if you can't see that, and if you think that The Rock and Roman Reigns isn't the biggest main event in the history of WrestleMania, then save your booze, save your booze. Then, if that's what you think, then in simple Rock speak, it doesn't matter what you think.
The Samoan angle. To finally play more into the Samoan angle, into the Samoan family, which means every Samoan that comes across in wrestling now gets a spotlight. More than it ever has, because this particular storyline is going to create it.
WrestleMania 40, Philadelphia. The Rock and Roman Reigns, the Universal Champion, versus the People's Champion. Whether you like it or you don't like it, the People's Champion in the biggest main event in the history of professional wrestling, bound by blood.
I want more of this right here. Remember, every Samoan here and everything that goes with the Samoan family must get brought into this regularly. I would be totally subscribe to this.
Hold on.
And then here comes Cody.
This right here is bullshit.
Thank you so much. And this is where the crowd finally got fed up. They gave in, what a good 5 minutes of this. And now Cody comes in, super babyface. This grabs the audience. Again, the swerve is complete. Rock as a heel, they're combined.
Roman, you're out here calling the shots, dictating WrestleMania 40, and as the tribal chief, as the undisputed champion, you have a lot of stroke, but it is not your right, it is not your distinction to determine the main event. It is mine. I won the Royal Rumble.
And now Cody, obviously at the level of Rock and Roman Reigns in this whole picture. Destined to win.
We had a wonderful conversation. I had many conversations. I have made my decision.
Explaining that he talked to The Rock, now he says it. And very well done this year.
At WrestleMania 40, in the main event, I choose you, Roman Reigns.
And it's done. So now Rock, Roman really can't do much, and now they're going to be aligned. And see, remember, optics are everything. Because originally, Rock was in the middle of this stage with Roman and Paul Heyman to one side. And then all of a sudden, Cody comes in, and Rock accompanies alongside Paul and Roman. Optics say everything. Now Triple H comes out with Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce.
You must be crazy. You must be stupid or something, huh? This is a done deal. You're old news. Go over there with the number twos. The number 2 table will have you now.
I love it. It's so
Loser
good.
bracket. Right there in the dummy in green. Just go. Leave. You're embarrassing yourself now. Last year was your year. That was your moment. You were only a chapter in my book. Nobody cares about your story. Nobody cares about you finishing the story. You're embarrassing your entire family now. You, just understand this, you're irrelevant, just like your dad.
This is all gold right here.
Here you are talking about family. Is that what the Bloodline is? Let me ask you a question. How's Jay? It's not a family.
Good job.
You're a meal ticket, and they are nothing but lackeys, but yes men. They're goons. And what is this match all about right here? Who sits at the head of the table? What does it matter when neither of you have been doing any of the cooking for 2 years?
Let me just say, peak Roman Reigns and Cody just fighting right back, really holding up.
Earlier we had that family tree up there, and you've invoked my father before, so let me go ahead and do the same. If your grandfather was here, if the High Chief, his grandfather, was here,
Oof.
they'd be ashamed of you.
Yeah, family stuff works. Come on. The heat is a fever pitch right now. Love it. And The Rock now comes closer. Again, it's 2-on-1. 2-on-1. And again, Cody and Rock, I want to see that too. I want to see these two against each other as well. I think it would be fantastic.
Let me make something perfectly clear to you. When you talk about his family, you're talking about my family. When you're talking about his ancestors, you're talking about my ancestors. And when you're talking about his blood, you're talking about my blood. So now, we have a problem.
Excellent.
Listen.
See, all that right there is just, I mean, just eat it up. The family storyline, you know, I wasn't sure where they were going to go. I didn't know they were going to go to this route. I mean, obviously, everything goes with Cody along with his family and his whole his history coming up to it. But Rock and Roman now are bound by blood. Again, they said it. But then on top of that, Rock and Roman are with each other, and you're seeing a lot of things going on when it comes to getting us to the next level, getting us to the next part of, all right, you see what they did here and how they completely get ourselves to the point of setting up a couple of matches we want. Again, no matter what, having Seth, Cody, Rock, Roman involved in some way, shape, or how. I mean, if you want to set up a tag team match with Rock and Roman versus Seth and Cody, you can set that up now. It's set. You can do that. And then you can have several matches that we hopefully get all together. There's a lot into all this, and I hope that we'll get to that at some point. I really do. I want that. I want that more than anything. But for the most part, everything was all set up wonderful. And they really did create such a moment right now. I want the Samoan warriors here, Rock and Roman now, really play that up. Because I really think this makes the biggest difference. If you want to make it that every Samoan wrestler, if every Samoan wrestler can be attached to Rock and Roman Reigns, think about it like this. Okay, and this is a stretch, of course. But think of the game, let me put it to you like this. Toa Leona, right? And you put him out there in Mogul Embassy, okay, Samoan, and he comes out here and has worked, together to be the gates of agony, right? Again, him with Khan. And you think of what they've done together. You got Leona, Juicy Finau. You got, Lance Anoa'i. You have a number of others that are all part of this, right? Jacob Fatu. And the one thing I didn't notice if they did anything at all, but I want to see if they had the family tree. Because I would love to see a full look of that again. Because that was the one thing that you got to think about as well, is that what was it they did in here that created the family tree that people were always looking at, right? Because that's the one thing we want to be able to take a look at. Because that would be really interesting of what there is. Because that's the part I want to be able to see more of who else was part of this family tree so we can get a better look at it. Now, there are some names in this here that we could also see that people are going to be paying attention to. In the family, that people want to go and pay attention to and look at and say, hey, we might want to keep an eye. In the Brothers via Blood Oath, let's make this a point. Every wrestling company now, every wrestling company that has a Samoan star, they need to be pushing the fact that they got someone as part of the Bloodline family tree. WWE actually did a favor to the entire wrestling world by really putting a microscope, magnifying the Samoan family, all of them, via Blood Oath. Brothers. So you got Brothers via Blood Oath in this storyline. Let me tell you like this. When you look at who's in this mix right now, Lance Anoa'i is on this list. If I keep looking here, Jacob Fatu is on this list. Okay? Jimmy and Jay are on the list. Solo Sikoa on the list. The Rock's daughter on the list. And they take you all the way back to the other names that are synonymous with the Samoan bloodline of wrestling, going back decades. From Jimmy Superfly Snuka to The Rock, to the High Chief Peter Maivia, to Umaga, to Tonga Kid, to Yokozuna, to Nia Jax, Rocky Johnson, Afa and Sika, so many others. But this family tree is incredible. This is for fans like me to really appreciate. And honestly, every professional wrestling fan ever should have really appreciate what they did here in this press event by creating this family tree and showcasing it all. That every wrestler in the Samoan family that's a part of this family tree should be encompassed and embrace this right here. Lance Anoa'i, I don't know where he is right now in terms of working right now, but like I said, him, Jacob Fatu, these are all stars that, you know, if they get themselves to a certain point, just the fact that they're going to be part of attachment to how this storyline right here is with Rock and Roman Reigns, because this will magnify everybody. The Samoan family will be synonymous. Okay. This will be bigger than, a whole lot of other things. When you talk about an entire bloodline, a whole generations upon generations, we knew this was a part of the thing. Like Paul Heyman obviously being a part of this, obviously has to be involved in this some way, somehow. But you look at this and you say to yourself, wow, this is incredible what they just did. Incredible. And I think everyone needs to go ahead and pay attention to what was done here and what they did to create this here. It's crucial to realize how important this is. And how much, like for me, it really, oh man, I can't even tell you how good this looks. And how much we're going to get out of this whole setup anyways. But the bloodline, setting up like this, you're making a storyline that lives a lifetime. I mean, you can go ahead and use this somehow where the bloodline now, you know, maybe they don't realize this, but maybe they're falling into it. The bloodline now is going to be synonymous with the WWE, right? Synonymous with the Samoan family. It's not just Roman, the Usos, and Solo. No, it's not that anymore. Now it's the entire Samoan family. They encompassed everybody. So imagine that they can continue to have this story go on forever. Because that's what this is. The bloodline, a forever storyline, it's never going to be a faction that goes away. Instead, you're always going to have other, maybe the bloodline the way it is now will change, but like seriously, there will be more to this. But what they've done here is a spectacle. It's spectacular. It really is one of the best things that could have ever happened in wrestling. Believe it or not. I love what they did here. And it makes complete sense. And now you get a spotlight on all these stars more than ever before. And by the way, also including people that were brought into the mix by marriage, right? That's why Trinity's in here. But look at everybody that's in here. And the fact that there were other names and other organizations that are working now today that are part of this. And at any time, this family can always be continued to be brought up. This is no Evolution. This is no DX. This is no NWO. It's a faction bound by blood. I mean, you can only do it with a group like this. And for the Samoans out there, you know what? If you're able to be part of this whole family like the way it is, imagine if you're being part of this now. There's so much more to this you can just realize. That's going to make a big difference for all this altogether. Just imagine. It's a wonderful thing. And I think that's one of the things we got to take away from what happened on TV. Now, the other thing I'm going to bring up as well that I thought would be very important, that I thought we should go ahead and make a mention of as well, that was big, was Triple H responding afterwards. After what happened at the press event. And taking that, I think that wasn't a bad idea to go with either. But decided to go and go with this route. And I think that was something they had to do to give something to go ahead and work off of what happened the night before. And to put this on the TV. Again, it's not Rock and Roman. You're not getting them out there because that was for the Vegas show. The Vegas crowd. Again, everything you're going to watch, you got to watch on Peacock. You got to have the subscription. Okay? They're putting the paywall in front, but you just saw something that was really amazing right here. What the TV shows need to do is expand on this a bit more. Like, we can fill some time with explaining the family tree and looking at some of the other stars that are in the company right now that are somewhere attached to the bloodline, whether they want to be or not. Okay? Now let's go and get to Triple H when he talked to the crowd on SmackDown last Friday. I can complain about the mid-card all we want, but the main event right now is good.
That sure as hell feels like we are on the road to WrestleMania.
The main event right now feels right for WrestleMania, right at the right time.
Before we get to that, welcome to SmackDown. Last night in Las Vegas, it was an incredible kickoff event to get us started on that road to the grandest stage of them all. But the fact is, somewhere along the way last night, we took a hard left turn, and now that road is on fire. But I can tell you this, it feels really good. But I came out here because I wanted to clear up one thing.
And now Rocky's a full heel after the Thursday night event in Vegas. And look at that. It was no time at all. 1 week to turn Rock heel.
I wanted to clear up a couple of things from last night because I felt like coming out of Las Vegas as we were flying over here, felt like there was some confusion in the air. Maybe some people don't know their role. So I wanted to come out here and, I don't know, just set the record straight because I felt like there are people that went out there and tried to assert their authority when they don't really have any. Because here's the thing, I really don't care where you sit. There is one thing that is abundantly clear here. Whether people like them or they don't like them, the answers come from one place and one place only, and right now you are looking at him.
This is just to verify that the match is going to happen. So Cody and Roman are set.
So let me just say this. In the main event of WrestleMania 40, the biggest WrestleMania of all time, Roman Reigns will defend his undisputed WWE Championship in the main event against Cody Rhodes.
This is the verify to the crowd. It's all set. Wanted to make it official. Which is all set and good. Now we're all set to that. So again, the thing is we're going to have right now is where does The Rock embed himself into the mix now as this match comes forward? And also then there's the extra part they added on Monday night with Cody having Seth now wanting to go and offer his help when it comes down to it. See, we're going to get a lot of things that are going to be very much, there's going to be a lot here that we're going to like try to figure out here and see what there is because, you know, there's going to be the thought process of how things are going to happen where Cody gets to finish the story, which everybody wanted. But then what happens next is Seth is still odd person out. And what's interesting about this is that he's not worrying so much about his World Heavyweight title. He's worried about getting himself embedded into the mix to help Cody out. So, I mean, remember, there's something about Cody where Seth getting help here from offering help. Don't know what to think about that. Don't know if I would trust it. Because, I mean, Cody's on an island of his own. He can't trust anyone. Even with Seth, how he explains the bloodline and what they were really going to do to him last year and what they were able to do to Seth and what they were able to do to LA Knight and whoever else, bloodline interference always helps Roman win all the time. So let's go and go to the part where Seth offers a hand.
Now that the decision is made, let me make this very clear to you. You need to finish your story. You need to finish your story for yourself, for your dad, for me, for every single person here tonight. And I'll tell you why. Because if you do not beat Roman Reigns at WrestleMania and take the WWE Undisputed Championship from him, the landscape on the other side of WrestleMania is very, very dark. You've got the most powerful champion of the modern era, Roman Reigns. He gets more power. He gets more leverage, which means he shows up less. He defends his title less. That glass ceiling, it gets thicker. Those brass rings, they get higher. This is probably the last real chance that any of us has to take that title, to take that power, and to give it to the people.
So the part is, you got to ask yourself, is Seth asked to go and get the match instead, but doesn't feel perturbed by it? And that makes me suspicious. And the way he's talking right now could very well thought of as being a heel, which will lead to a swerve later on.
You might be the man for the job, but Cody, I love you too. Oh, love. What's your plan, Cody?
Seed of doubt. And this is where I see something happening.
Because last year, you got screwed out of the title in the main event of WrestleMania. The Usos were there. Paul Heyman was there. Solo was there. Roman Reigns. You couldn't get the job done, but you fought your way back. You won the Royal Rumble again. The deck's stacked against you just the same, except now the bar has been raised. Because you're not just dealing with Heyman and Solo and Jimmy and Roman. You are dealing with the biggest star, the most influential man in the entire entertainment industry. You've got to deal with The Rock.
Bottom line is that Seth wants that spot for himself. That's what I think it really comes down to.
And we're back with
I don't think it's anything else more than that.
that.
So keep that in mind as well. I really think that Seth has his own ulterior motives, which is why he wants to get himself involved. I'm just telling you.
Lexington, I tend to agree with you, which is why I came out here, Cody, to tell you you do not have to fight this battle alone.
But this is the part where I think Cody has to go and deny that he needs anyone's help.
Now, you and I, we haven't always seen eye to eye, but a couple weeks back, you told Roman Reigns you didn't just want to take his title from him, you wanted to take everything from him, and deep in my soul, I felt that.
Here's that part of the convincing who's going to try to get in.
That is why at the press conference, when The Rock laid hands on you, I stepped up because I am sick and I am tired of people like The Rock of people like Roman Reigns, these arrogant, entitled pricks who think they can do whatever they want. They can throw their weight around, make any decision they want with no consequence. I am sick and tired of them always getting away with it.
I see a heel turn coming after this. Seth is going to screw Cody.
And I got to admit something to you right now. The man Roman Reigns is partly my fault. Nearly 12 years ago, we came down those stairs in tactical vests. We were brothers, forged from the same fire. I taught him everything I know. I am partly responsible for the man that he is, but I could have never imagined the monster that he has become. And now, that monster's got two heads, because he is standing side by side with the only person on this planet who is as entitled and selfish as he is. But when it comes to fighting the Bloodline, when it comes to fighting The Rock, when it comes to fighting Roman Reigns, there is only one man on earth who is uniquely suited to be your shield.
I wouldn't trust Seth.
I'll give you a hint. He was once an architect. He is now a visionary. He is a revolutionary. He is Seth.
It's still the same thing. Listen, Seth can still turn back over a new leaf. He can go back and align himself with Rock and Roman. Only for the fact that he wants the spot himself. And Seth already made the point. He didn't get a chance to be that. He might feel, remember, nothing has been said at all about the World Heavyweight title that he has around his waist. Not even concerned about that. Which tells me a lot. I'm wondering what they're going to add. So after everything he says, this is the workhorse belt, this is the this and that. And then, after Cody makes a decision, he makes it, well, now, it's no longer it's the most important belt again. So after Cody makes a decision, Seth can go ahead and change his mind, change his thinking about it. Again, it's manipulation, which is why I think Seth is going to turn on Cody some point before we get to that match or at the match. I mean, if Seth feels like he's going to be Cody's shield, there's everything that you're hearing. Listen, it's almost like he's going to kind of give him the whole plan. I can see the plot twist unfolding at the end. Like, you bring your enemy so close to you and you make that work. So Seth doesn't want to take no for an answer. He still wants something to do with Cody. And, he's volunteering himself as a shield for Cody? No. I always thought there's going to be a point where Seth is going to want to go ahead and take on Roman himself. And that's going to be enough for him to come in. And I can't think that, 2 years later, that Seth is going to just, forgive Cody for just coming in and doing the same thing. Might respect him for the fact that he was able to win not just the Royal Rumble once, but twice. Okay, but I don't see it here. I mean, coming back to this again, I don't see it coming about. I don't see it happening like that. Years later, I still think that Seth can go and make the turn. And that's where I think people need to go and look at that. We're going to see that come right down the line. I think that's going to happen. Just telling you. A few things I want to bring up before we go wrap things up. So there's going to be a Cody and Seth segment for Elimination Chamber. They will not be in action, but Grayson Waller says he's going to have them on the Grayson Waller Effect to talk about their further program. So that's what we're going to see next. And basically Cody will have to give his answer about how he's going to feel about having Seth as a shield for Cody to help him take on the Bloodline. They did a good job of having Seth make the case. And it's believable enough. But I'm going to see through it and say we're going to see Seth screw Cody at some point for his own reasons. Because the World Heavyweight title wasn't mentioned, not a mention at all. I think there's just something there that we got to just keep an eye on. That's what it is. That's what I look at right now. And I don't think I have a reason why not to go and think that way, right? I mean, think about that. Think about it like this. When you see him come out there, do you not think that it's going to be something that will happen soon enough? That they'll actually pay attention to that? Just a thought process. When you see Cody and Seth with each other in the ring and what goes on, it's one of those things that people need to go and keep an eye on and what happens and what could come of it. Just know there's a lot there that can actually definitely happen after all is said and done. I don't know yet. This is one of those things where I think people need to go and pay attention to it. Just saying. And as for the matches we have for February 24th, I'll do a post show that weekend, but it will not be immediately after because obviously 7 p.m. Eastern in Australia. I'm not catching it at that time. I'm not catching it overnight. It won't happen for me. I won't be up that early. But so far, Bianca Belair, Becky Lynch, Liv Morgan have already qualified for the Elimination Chamber match for the women. For the men, you already got Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, LA Knight already qualifying. Rhea Ripley will take on Nia Jax for the women's world title. Well, actually, no, that's already been changed now. I just saw that. Well, actually, Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax will still go on. We're hearing that most likely Jade Cargill will not be part of the women's chamber match, but will be on SmackDown on Friday. And still, Jade, they were trying to talk about maybe she was going to win the Royal Rumble, but no, we're not going to do that yet. When I talk about certain stars that need some certain changes to continue to move forward and evolve their character, they need to do something more with Jade before she gets there. Just saying, I think that needs to be something they need to can really be considering about. Just saying. So Braun Breaker is eventually going to be going to one of the other brands. He's going to the main roster very soon. So we'll expect him to be coming up very soon. We'll see what happens with him. And by the way, because of what happened with The Rock and doing all the Cody Crybaby stuff, merchandise is expected to be created for that as a result. How about that? That's pretty funny. Good stuff. And otherwise, other things that are going on within the show, one thing we're learning about now is the fact that eventually we're going to go and see changes going on for... Well, we're going to actually see some things going on when it comes to what comes up next for some of the stars that are going to be making their way that we thought were going to be in WWE, but they're not. Again, we're waiting to see what's going to happen with Camille. We're still hearing word that Kazuchika Okada is going to be heading to Elite Wrestling. That's what a lot of people are kind of talking about. There was interest by WWE about Okada, but Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer said that Shinsuke Nakamura's push we saw last year when he was going up against Seth Rollins in that program, it was created to show Okada that this was a new regime and he wanted to be treated like a top talent. Right. So now it makes sense why that happens. Shinsuke got the push and got brought back down because they were trying to go ahead and court Okada. It didn't work. And so Okada still might be looking to make his way over to AEW, which would be good. For them anyway. Another story I'm reading about as well, Scott D'Amore. We're learning about that, the changes where Scott D'Amore we talked about last week. He is out as TNA president, and Anthony Ciccone has become the new president of TNA. And what we're learning about is that D'Amore had a dispute with management before his release. And that recent weeks, D'Amore went to Anthem with an offer to buy TNA outright with the backing of a major banking institution, but it was rejected as Anthem is fully prepared to keep moving forward with the promotion. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reported that the wheels were in motion for D'Amore's termination a month prior. He adamantly did not want to leave TNA, but stated that he wished to present it as a mutual departure. And D'Amore didn't want to refer to Zapp, but company executives felt the wording was in D'Amore's best interest. He made the offer to buy TNA before his termination was made public. I want to learn more about why it is that D'Amore felt like he wanted to go and buy the company and take it off of Anthem Entertainment. I mean, obviously, we see the investment in it, and we know that D'Amore obviously has the money for it. We're learning about that, too. But what was it he was worried about if TNA now is going to be in the hands of Anthem Entertainment without him being a part of it after being in it for 6 years? That's what I'm kind of curious about what's going to happen with it. We'll find out more as it goes along. But anyway, that's the show for the night. Thanks for listening in. Finding as it always do. Of course, the website is kingofpodcasts.com. That's where you find everything about this show. And you can keep yourself all up at it and keep yourself in touch with what I'm doing. All my social media channels, everything's all up there. All the latest episodes, you can find all right there. So make sure to go and check it out. Everything you need to know. My YouTube channel, you can subscribe there at King of Podcasts. Until next week, come back for another Wrestling Goes Real podcast because wrestling needs us.